Good morning. Isn't it great to have an intimate conversation about something close to all of our heart, Spinnaker? I'm so excited that all of you took the time to be here. You know, as I was heading here, I was thinking about all our customers, OpsMx customers, and more broadly, the users of Spinnaker. And I realized an interesting trend. And this happened in the last 12 months, I think, 12, 18 months. The realization is that many enterprises that use Spinnaker has achieved significant scale in the last 12 to 18 months. At least I have firsthand experience with many of them. It made me realize that the community has made something wonderful out of Spinnaker. It made it easier to adopt at scale. And you know, thanks to all of you, whoever you are, whichever company you work for, open source contributors, commercial support vendors, Armory, OpsMx, and all the users in all the companies that got to that scale, because I know how much hard work you've put in. So a big thank you. Today, I want to share 3 reasons why Spinnaker, I believe, has a key role in the future of enterprise delivery. First, alludes to why we have so many companies reaching significant scale in the last 12 months. Spinnaker is making continuous delivery simpler, safe, and scalable. And I'll give more details on this. Second is Spinnaker has the flexibility to interoperate with emerging tools. It was originally designed that way, giving the ability to enhance the enterprise capabilities to meet the future needs of an enterprise. 4 or 5 years ago, Argo wasn't on the scene. So an example is Argo CD today. It has new Kubernetes capabilities. And I'll share with you how OpsMx and others are working to integrate Spinnaker and Argo together. The third reason is Spinnaker's ability to adapt. Is able to adapt to new operating models like GitOps. I'll share with you how Spinnaker is being used to enable enterprise GitOps. I personally believe that enterprise GitOps will go a long way in simplifying the Spinnaker developer experience, which is something that we should all strive to work towards. Each of these is big topics, so in the interest of time, I'll keep the conversation at a high level. I'm happy to chat more. So first, Spinnaker has made continuous delivery simpler, secure, and scalable. How did it make it simple? Made it easy to use, lots of enhancements. We ourselves have operator, one command installation for beginners, just one single command, configuration through everything through a UI, etc. Easy to operate, and I'll talk about Spinnaker SaaS, and then easy to extend, and I'll talk about OpsMx Center of Excellence. There are a lot of things community has done together, and I'm going to only scratch the surface here. Spinnaker SaaS. OpsMx has a Spinnaker SaaS. It's simple to get started. All you need is the account. If you're behind a firewall, you need a remote CG agent. You deploy it. And once you deploy, it helps you access all the resources, deploy resources behind firewalls. And also, any enterprise tool that's behind the firewall will be accessible through the SaaS. Maximum 5 minutes. You need to get started. You could get started. Uh, the other feature is it's a scalable security. Essentially, you can configure your keys, security credentials, all on the local agent, not necessarily in the server. This allows for autonomous teams, meaning that each team is isolated. You can have thousands of teams, tens of thousands of Kubernetes clusters, all working autonomously, every team using its own tool chain, et cetera. I think it's actually super simplifies the scaling and operation of Spinnaker and security. So self-service for developers, allowing them to manage targets and tools. So this goes, at least our view goes a long way in simplifying operations. And the third is, we started a center of excellence. And large enterprises need capabilities not in the open source Spinnaker. OpsMx Center of Excellence can develop new features customized for you. Examples are GCP, Cloud Run, Load Balancer, Cloud Driver Sharding are all in these various releases. So this is how we've simplified Spinnaker. Now, how did Spinnaker is safer? Because it's a safer platform, fixed a lot of vulnerabilities. Overall, the usage in the last 2 years have made it safe. Safer delivery process. We now have much more controls, control gates, stages, integrations, best practices coded as templates. All of this makes the delivery process itself is safer. And I also alluded to how the act of accessing enterprise resources through Spinnaker, be it as a SaaS or on-prem when you have a large implementation, becomes extremely simple, safe. The third is about how to make it scalable. As I said, in the last 12 months, many enterprises went to scale. Community has made lots of enhancements. One specific problem that we focused on is large-scale Spinnaker deployments have had the bottleneck of Spinnaker Cloud Drivers service. And we now have a service called Storm Driver to solve this problem. So we are open sourcing Storm Driver. Storm Driver is a new service for Cloud Driver, especially, it's efficient. It adds less than 3 milliseconds to most queries, and it uses about 20 MB. Michael Graf, who's a principal engineer at Spinnaker, at OpsMx, will be presenting today, 3:45. So if this is how we as a community are making Spinnaker the first sort of the reason why I think we have a good base. The second is now I want to talk about the second reason, how Spinnaker is able to successfully integrate with emerging sort of tools like Argo. Part of what makes software delivery exciting is that there's a lot of constant innovation. Some of us are old enough to have been pre-Kubernetes, and sort of Kubernetes came in. And so an example now is Argo. Argo has got good adoption. And so there will be many, many innovations to come. And developers are driving adoption of Argo due to its simplicity and support for Kubernetes. Most developers don't want to deal with policies or scaling issues. Security operations need to step in to provide these controls. So we're integrating Spinnaker with Argo to support the choice for these developers and to embrace that sort of adoption. Some of them want to leverage Argo rollout capability with Spinnaker, and others want to benefit from having Spinnaker's control in an Argo CD environment. So if you So what does it mean to integrate Argo and Spinnaker or interoperate? There's sort of different levels of integration or interoperation available, loosely coupled to more integrated. So some start with adding Argo rollouts as a mechanism for Kubernetes deployments. I know several of the large users have done so. And at the end of the pipeline, we essentially have like an Argo rollout stage. And so then later on, we add analysis, whether it is Kayanta or OpsMx's autopilot. And then there's also a unification of the user experience, both from the Spinnaker workflows as well as the Argo. So that's the sort of the beginning. The second is, Argo users, especially if you have a whole Argo CD deployment, need mechanisms to promote between environments, enforce organization policies, control, especially control access to access other enterprise tools, control them, and make annotations and all of that stuff. I think Spinnaker adds that delivery control to Argo CD. And finally, it's about both Spinnaker and Argo are operating each other. So users need the end-to-end sort of visibility of all the stages, especially if you have mix and match of them, and then in-depth audit across all deployments, audit of during deploy, and post-deployment audit. And we're able to provide that with Spinnaker. I think that Spinnaker's ability to integrate with new innovations like this is a big sort of capability that enterprises would love. The third sort of reason is about what I call enterprise GitOps. All of you know about this new model of operation that's gained mindshare and traction to some extent. I think it can go a long way in simplifying the developer experience if we adopt it properly. Let me share my perspective. And especially enterprise GitOps can be made fully comprehensive with leveraging Spinnaker. If we step back, GitOps has started as sort of a declarative spec for infrastructure as code for deployments primarily in the Kubernetes environment and with the source of truth for Git. Although sort of GitOps was popularized in Kubernetes environments, users are looking to expand that model beyond Kubernetes to VMs, to serverless, and so on. So essentially, it's like the first step is how do we get to beyond Kubernetes? That's the first step. And the second step would be, although GitOps is traditionally been focused on developers, but complex deployments need the specialty and security operations teams. So you need sort of the expansion or separation of concern beyond developers. And the third is sort of the GitOps main use case is declarative deployments. In a delivery process, if you think about it, so there's a lot more steps and other functions that are being done outside the current scope of GitOps, and we could bring them in. There's a lot of conversation even today and even in the GitOps Con in this thread of how do we get to enterprise GitOps. Let me share with you how we are thinking about it, and hopefully we should all work together on it. The first is GitOps for multi-cloud, and this is nothing new to this community. There's always been Keel. Enterprise, our view, at least, we are leveraging Keel. Keel is a good sort of a framework developed by Netflix, extended by AWS, and we are using that to extend to other environments. essentially it provides a declarative framework for deployments, Keel database, and I think you all are familiar with it. And so we're looking to support Keel, go beyond. Now there's a talk later today, Autodesk and AWS. I think they're going to touch upon this. So the second step is how do we take GitOps beyond deployments? Let me talk about declarative functions supported by Git today is deployments. In a delivery process, there are other functions, as I mentioned, that are outside the scope of current GitOps view. If you look at these functions like policies, verifications, approvals, promotions to other functions, they can all be first specified in the Git. Now, some of them you can specify them as goals, and then declaratively implemented. And so we are looking at verification, policies as declarative constructs. So that's where we will start. I think if we can sort of implement extend GitOps and have declarative versions of these functions, we will be able to realize the vision of fully operating or fully delivering without any human intervention. One of the goals, one of the dreams of when we started OpsMx, actually OpsMx stands for Operations Machine. It's actually, the name of the company is DevOpsMx, Dev Operations Machine. We wanted to design a machine that helps you deliver without any human intervention. I think this is close to our heart, and it actually kind of makes me happy that we are here. The third sort of is so when we look at, looks like I skipped a slide. So what we're doing is to take all of these functions and have the declarative spec for all of these functions. And so that's what we're working on, and have implementations of the controllers for them. And a big part of fully automating software delivery is making sure that GitOps model incorporates specialties of concern beyond developers. So if you look at existing GitOps, for developers, there are security teams. For complex deployments, you need security teams that need to do guardrails, security checks, ops teams that need to do sizing, monitoring, and so on and so forth. So there are two sort of enhancements needed to make this happen. One is to have this separation of concerns, and then have the ability for coordination, visibility, and separation of concern before, during, and after delivery. If I look forward in the next 12 months, I want to bring the conversation back to the companies that achieved scale in the last 12 months, and also the companies that will start and achieve scale in the next 12 months and beyond. I believe the companies that made the decision to go with Spinnaker made the right decision. Part of the reason they made the right decision is because Spinnaker's flexibility gives them the capability to absorb and take advantage of new tools and be adaptable to new operating models. I do not see any other sort of platform coming along to fill that sort of a gap. And we as a community can work together, if we work together, to continue to make Spinnaker easy to use, simpler, safer, scalable, continue to adopt to integrate with new tools, in this case, Argo CD, et cetera, and to adopt to new operating models like GitOps. That will keep Spinnaker and the robust community, a very robust community that, looking back, we'll all be proud of. So that's sort of how I think about it. So thank you. Thank you.